Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. It's great to be here as always. I'm actually fresh back from vacation. If coverage last week seemed a little bit disjointed, it's because it was all filmed in advance. I was on a family vacation and I don't think that we'll be going back there ever. Anyway, the question today is, can the National Rifle Association redeem itself? Can it come back in the good graces, of the Second Amendment community? And for those of you who don't know what it is I'm talking about, you've been living under a rock. Obviously, you need to do some use of the Google machine to catch yourself up. But basically, the National Rifle Association at this point in time is a dying organization whose membership is aging and they are not replenishing it. And that means that in the next couple decades, it will cease to exist. The question is, can they turn that around and start bringing in that new membership that will keep the organization from going tits up? Can they clean up that reputation that they have garnered over the last several decades of being an organization that is, quite frankly, okay with bargaining away your rights, trying to advance their political position by pulling levers and making backdoor deals that ultimately result in negative impacts on the Second Amendment and your rights? Well, I've actually been contacted by members of the board of directors of the National Rifle Association and asked what can be done, and they did not like my answers. I'll tell you that right now. In fact, I haven't heard from them in several months. But one of the things that I did say that they absolutely had to do was inflict serious damage to the National Firearms Act, because they're responsible for the National Firearms Act. They were in the room when the National Firearms Act was passed, and they helped get it done. So as one of the parties responsible, in order to make reparations and bring themselves anywhere close to a principled Second Amendment organization, they got to do something about that. And they may have a chance very soon to do that. And that's what I'm telling you about in today's video. This video was brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. They are my go-to stop for all things medical. It doesn't matter whether you need something that just holds a bunch of Band-Aids and maybe some aspirin or something like that, or if you need an actual trauma kit. If you don't have a trauma kit in your house or in your vehicle, then I highly suggest that you go check our people out at Medical Gear Outfitters, and they offer all of you a discount. You can find all of that information over at the affiliates page and all the relevant places, and use that to great effect. Now, to be clear, I personally think that the National Rifle Association should just disband and step out of the way of other organizations that are doing considerably better work than they are. But I'll give them a chance. There's a lot more they got to do besides just attack the National Firearms Act. They got to clean up their organization and various other things. But one of the things that the NRA ILA recently did was appeal a case to the Supreme Court that directly attacks the National Firearms Act. And the case is Rush v. United States. And I'm just going to read you the summary of this for those of you who are like driving down the road and kind of want to know what this is all about. So back in 2022, Jamin Rush was charged with possession of an unregistered firearm, specifically an AR-15 rifle with a 7.5-inch barrel, in violation of the National Firearms Act. Rush moved to dismiss the indictment, arguing that the statute under which he was charged was unconstitutional based on the Supreme Court's decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin. The government opposed, citing the Supreme Court's earlier decision in the United States v. Miller, which upheld similar regulations. The district court denied Rush's motion, holding that Bruin did not affect the constitutionality of regulating unregistered short-barreled rifles. Rush entered a conditional guilty plea, reserving the right to appeal the denial of his motion to dismiss, and was subsequently sentenced to 30 months in prison. The United States District Court for the Southern District of Illinois reviewed the case and denied Rush's motion to dismiss, leading to his appeal. The court held that Rush's conduct was not protected under the Second Amendment's plain text and historical understanding. You guys see where this is going? I think we see where this is going. The United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit reviewed the case, and the court affirmed the district court's decision, holding that the NFA's requirement to register certain firearms, including short barrel rifles, is constitutional. The court relied on the precedent set by the United States v. Miller, which upheld similar regulations and found that the NFA's provisions are consistent with a historical tradition of firearms regulation. Does not fit the timeline, boys and girls. I think this one looks pretty good. Let's continue. The court concluded that the regulation of short barrel rifles does not violate the Second Amendment, as these weapons are not typically possessed by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes like self-defense. The court affirmed Rush's conviction and the denial of his motion to dismiss. Okay, well, I'm going to enter a sample size of 1. I use a short barrel rifle for home defense. I use a short barrel rifle for defense of this office. So there is 2 instances of use of a short barrel rifle for home defense. And I'm sure that y'all can input plenty of instances. Don't do that. Do not put that in the comment section. You don't have to actually waste somebody to have that weapon in use for that purpose. Now, as I mentioned, the NRA-ILA has petitioned the court, the Supreme Court, for a writ of certiorari in this case. And for those of you who don't speak that language, that means, hey, Supreme Court, will you take a look at this case? And I believe, me not being an attorney, of course, that this case would be on its merits. He's already been convicted in that he pled guilty, right? So it's been through the trial court. It then went to the district court, and then it went to the Seventh Circuit, and they all said, nope, conviction stands. So now this should be a case that is on its merits at the Supreme Court. And that's important because we've seen lots of cases go up to the Supreme Court, and they say, hey, it's not really our turn yet. The term that they use for that is that it's in an interlocutory posture, which means that the lower courts have not finished all of their work yet. This looks like it's the Supreme Court's turn in this case. Now, I am not particularly hopeful because the Supreme Court has done a deplorable job lately when it comes to backing up what they've done with the Bruen decision. They've really had multiple opportunities to step in and say, hey, the government has way outstepped its bounds. We're just going to sit on our hands, though. They've had lots of opportunities to fix various things, and they've just simply not taken them for whatever reason. This would be a really good opportunity for them to do something that would have a major sweeping effect across the country. And maybe that's why they didn't take those other cases, because this would be a more direct route at the preparatory situation, the whole legal scheme that prefaces those issues in that case. Maybe, I don't know. But again, just because the National Rifle Association has appealed this or has petitioned the court for a writ of certiorari doesn't mean that they're back in our good graces. They actually have to win. So I suppose at this point in time, as far as this instance is concerned, all eyes are on the NRA. What do you guys think in the comment section down below? I'm interested to see your take on this. Would a major win like this help your confidence in an organization like the National Rifle Association, or do you think that they should just go the way of the dodo? Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see another video here at the VSO Gun Channel.